Hello, everybody. I'm back sooner than my normal modus operandi, but I think it's time we start talking about Harry and Meghan's visit to South Africa and maybe do so from a South African perspective. As you all know, I am South African and I've lived in South Africa for most of my life. I have been trying to reach out to people who is prepared to actually speak out. And I'm not asking for negative statements, I'm asking for any statement. How did they find them? Were they nice? Were they friendly? Were they relaxed? But nobody seems to want to say anything. So I went and looked at the media. Now, most of our media coverage seems to look almost exactly the same as the British media, and yeah, I couldn't find much of anything other than they smiled at the people, they greeted the people, they did this, they did that. So I reached out to some of my friends, and all they had to say, basically because they're not really interested in the royals at all they had to say was that they were not really impressed with anything she wore during her visit. They expected a little more, they expected a little more glitz and glamour, which they didn't get from Meghan during the visit. Anyway, so I could not believe that nobody had anything to say, and I went back to the internet and I looked at the alternative media, etc., etc. But it appears that other than the usual, they went here, they did that, and then the final recording of them whining and moaning. Other than that, not much, just the usual. But I finally found something which sort of confirmed my suspicions. And I'm referring to an article that appeared in the Daily Maverick, which I think is something to do with our local Daily Mail. I can't remember who wrote the article because dumb me didn't screenshot the whole thing, but let's get onto it. The first part of the article, sort of rather sarcastic, and it refers to all the rules that were set out beforehand. These rules were publicized and it was passed on to everybody who was going to have any dealings with the royal couple. Now, I'm not showing the whole list here, but it's basically the same. Don't look them in the eye, don't speak to them unless they speak to you. And the one that I found particularly interesting was that they said people should not try and outshine the royals, but rather when attending engagements where they're present, to dress down rather than dress up. Now, to outshine Meghan in the fashion stakes while she was here in South Africa, in my opinion, would not have been very difficult because she didn't give us much to work with, did she? Anyway, moving on. Another interesting so-called rule that was handed to the people, and it actually states in this article, listed among the no-nos, offering to babysit baby Archie. Oh, really? I cannot imagine anyone who had been in contact with him during the visit offering to babysit Archie. None of us are so dumb as not to know that they brought their own nanny, their own security, and yes, they even brought their own freaking Land Rovers, as if we do not have those in this country. As a matter of fact, the people in this country just love fancy cars. Okay, moving on. Absent from the article, the consequences for breaking this royal etiquette. Would one be shipped post haste to the Tower of London? Would special courts be set up on home soil to prosecute the impertinent, a la the 2010 FIFA World Cup? So that was a bit of satire here on behalf of the author of this article. Then she carries on. No need to worry, as it turned out. When the Royal Circus arrived in Nyanga, the scenes of choreographed jubilation were reminiscent of Queen Elizabeth's 1961 trip to Ghana. Now, this is exactly what I thought. Their whole visit to Inyanga just looked a little bit too unreal. And here we have it. It was all choreographed, practiced beforehand before they arrived. Okay, a bit further down in the same article, I'm reading to you. When Harry and Meghan reached the resolutely independent enclave of the Boerkaap on Heritage Day, local journalists appeared to experience some difficulty finding residents ready to gush in the direction of royalty at the turn of the mic. Many observers, reported the Cape Argus, were only there to see the Cape Minstrels. Now, the Cape Minstrels are very well known. They normally perform on New Year or just after, and it's a number of bands in fancy clothing marching through Cape Town. And as we know, if we followed their visit, they had a group of them performing for these two ex-royals. And once again, that's exactly what I have been told beforehand, but I couldn't find any confirmation. And now I have. So yeah, they were not as popular, they were not as jubilantly welcomed as the British press would like you to believe. As a matter of fact, they got so little attention from South Africans, or the South African press then, but more so South African people as a whole, that journalists had to scramble to find people to make it look as if they were greeted by a crowd. Okay, people, I'll keep on digging and hopefully find something else. As I said, I've put some messages out on Facebook and Twitter, but nobody seems to really want to talk. But I'm sure eventually, as time passes, that something will pop up. And as soon as it does, I will let you know. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Bye.